Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to the first edition of the LJFC football podcast. My name is Lewis, and I'm joined here with Josh. Say hello, Josh.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, and today we're going to be previewing the Premier League season and also the first match week of the season. We're going to get straight into it with our predictions of the league table for this season. So we'll start with your pick for first. You've gone with Man City, Josh. Just give us a little explanation.
I think when you look at Man City this season, I think the boldest reason for it is that Pep is going to be so hungry to win this title. I think with last season, such a poor display that they put in against fighting for it against Liverpool.
I think
Pep
that
is a
also, I think,
perfectionist.
yeah, and I think that's almost like, even if it isn't embarrassing because they still finished second in the league, I think Pep kind of personally sees it. He kind of takes personal offence to not winning titles.
Yeah, he's a very big man that is defied by his titles where he's gone and
With a very
walking away
shiny
with
head as
just a
well.
Carabao Cup. Uh, it's just not good enough for him. You know, he's going to want so much more than just to be the man who, in the 2019-20 season, won a Carabao Cup.
Yeah,
Um,
he's certainly well rated, I guess, by everyone better than that. Which kind of takes me on to my prediction for first, which is also Man City. I just kind of think for the same reasons as you. I think they play the best football in the league. Um, that's basically with Raheem Sterling. He scored 20 league goals this season. I think he'll be sort of a key figure in getting them to another league title. Um, yeah, I think maybe Gabriel Jesus needs to step more into the limelight with Aguero getting on a bit, but I think they've got everything they need to win the league again. Don't know if you've got any sort of thoughts on what I've just said.
I'm not too sure about Jesus. He's a player that they signed, a couple of years ago now under Pep. I think it was his first season they brought him in under Pep. He's a player that's really struggled to kind of get going. He has his purple patches. Don't get me wrong, I thought he was outstanding against Real Madrid in the Champions League. He was a game changer. However, he doesn't do it for me. I mean, he doesn't hit anything more than 13, 14 goals a season. Um, if I was City right now, I'd be monitoring some strikers. If I'm honest, I know they've agreed a deal with Koulibaly, um, which could be massive for the club. Um, because ever since Company has left, they've needed to make that gap filled of that superstar. However, I just don't see um, Jesus as the man to take them forward.
Yeah,
I don't think he can do it.
there are a lot of doubts, and I think I think you kind of have to put the likes of Marcus Rashford and that ahead of him in terms of young strikers in the Premier League now. I can't. Yeah, Mason Greenwood as well, a man coming through. Sort of the other side of Manchester, there seems to be the young strikers there doing a lot better. Um, but I guess we'll get on to second in our league table predictions. We'll go with yours first again. You've got Chelsea. Just give us a few words.
Um, I don't think it's very hard to explain it on Chelsea. I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. Just they've spent 100 and I want to say it's 138 million after selling Hazard for 100 and I think it was 28. They've spent nearly all of that money plus a little bit more from Morata. Um, they're still going. They're still not done yet. There's still reports that they're looking to bring a new goalkeeper, which I can completely understand why. Donnarumma looks like he's signing a new deal, so that has kind of played him off the table. And with Oblak going to cost them nearly 100 million, there's not money there to sign him.
I think it's worth them sort of waiting for a better
Yeah,
opportunity
they
to
seem
sign
to
one.
have gone for Stade Rennais. I think it's Stade Rennais. Correct me if I'm wrong. I couldn't give you his first name, but his last name's Mendy.
Okay.
Very, very good goalkeeper. A very good presence in his area. Something that Kepa has struggled with. I think he's heavily criticised for is not coming for balls during dead ball set pieces. Um, I do, however, think with the likes of Thiago Silva, Havertz, Pulisic, I say Pulisic, he's not a new addition, but the way he played after the restart, it was almost like a new player. Ziyech, I think the other ones they've signed now, they've signed so many. Chilwell, and I want to say there was another.
There
Am I
was
missing
is
someone? No, I think that's it. There was a youngster they
Malang
signed,
Sarr.
Malang Sarr, yes. And there was a youngster which I'm going to be slaughtered for because I can't remember his name, but I believe he's going out on loan. But
Okay.
irregardless, Chelsea have done some wonderful things to bring in some of this talent.
Uh,
To think that
the one I'm a massive
18
fan
months
of.
ago,
The one I'm a massive fan of is Kai Havertz. I think the boy's class.
I'm still a little. I'm 75-25 on him. What I've seen of him when he's played for Leverkusen, he's always struggled. However, Leverkusen did play him as a false nine. I think as a number 10, he will be excellent.
I think that
But
was
it's
sort of the
more.
period where they had injuries, wasn't it?
Yeah, Kevin Volland was out. They had no real out-and-out striker, so they played him, and he just couldn't really do it. The physicality kind of caught him short. I think Chelsea will be up there. I definitely think they'll be scoring goals. I just think it's Lampard's second season in charge. I don't think they're going to have the cohesion as quick as they'd want as a unit, as a team. But I still think to go from fourth place in his first season to second place is an absolutely incredible step in the right direction.
I think that would be, yeah, sort of the real thing that would say Lampard's the man, that would take Chelsea forward. So on to my second place prediction. I've got Liverpool. I don't think I'd be. I don't think anyone would ask too many questions as of why I've picked Liverpool for my second place team. They were excellent last season. Towards the end of the season, they lost a couple of games, but I don't think you can really put them down for that. You can't let that define their season. They, for a large parts of the season, people thought they were going to be undefeated. So you kind of see that, you know, how that displays Liverpool's quality, if you like. In terms of like some more of the reasons why I think they'll finish second, I think Salah has got, well, to be fair, 19 goals. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is his lowest scoring Premier League season, and to have
Yes, that
19
is.
goals as your lowest is not bad at all. So I think that will be a major sort of part of why that Liverpool will finish second next year. That kind of sounds like I'll say, oh, they won't be the best team, but I mean it in a positive sense, as in why they'll be so good, why they'll be above the rest of the teams. Also, Sadio Mane. I'm not. Roberto Firmino was a player that I really liked at the start of his Liverpool days. I thought he brought a lot to the team. Now I'm kind of on the side of that he doesn't score enough goals as a striker. I think they'd be best off replacing him.
I think 6 goals in a Premier League season is just
He scored
ridiculous.
9 in the league.
Oh,
In the
did he?
league. Yeah. I think their fullbacks are another big reason why I think they'll succeed in terms of like attacking play. They, between them in the league, just in the league, this is Alexander-Arnold and Robertson provided 25 assists between them, which is pretty impressive if you ask me.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's very good for essentially defenders.
I think the big thing with Liverpool, which I'm going to upset a lot of fans, I say a lot of fans as well as a comment on Man City, so I'm going to upset about 4. But is that a lot of fans have said Sterling had an incredible season this season.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind he had a very good season. However, Salah had a flop of a season. Salah only scored 2 less goals than Sterling this season.
Scored 1 less.
He scored what? This is my point exactly. To score 1 less goal than a player that did fantastic, while the other end they did terrible. However, one walked away with 1 Carabao Cup, another one walked away with the Premier League.
Yeah, and
I think some people have just maybe got their heads on the wrong way with that one.
If it wasn't for Liverpool's little spike of bad form, you know, people were on about, oh, this Liverpool team have been, you know, incredible this season. They could win, you know, like the quadruple, the treble, whatever. So I think it's sort of, yeah, your point exactly, for them to walk away with the Prem to last season, the team with Sterling in it, walking away with less in a Carabao Cup. I think that's sort of crucial to sort of talk about. So third, you've gone with Liverpool. Basically, I guess you're probably going to talk about the same reasons that I've talked about, but go ahead.
It's just purely, again, I kind of look at it a little bit more harsher than you. I think when you win the Premier League, you've got a point to prove that you can still do it. After that, I believe they only won 2 games, I believe. I may be wrong with that.
Yeah.
The performances they put in after they won the title were quite frankly appalling, in my opinion.
Particularly the game
To
against City.
lose, to lose the way they lost to City in their first game as champions, to lose the way they lost even to Arsenal. Being an Arsenal fan, I think it shocked all Arsenal fans we won that game with
Yeah,
their
you can tell
two
me that.
high-profile signings of Alisson and Van Dijk, two players that were a key factor into why they went on to win the title this season. They made howlers at the back.
Yeah, I think
It
that.
just wasn't good enough. I don't think Liverpool have invested well. I think the signing of I want to say it's Tissamakis, I believe his name is, the
Oh
left
yeah,
back.
yeah.
I believe there was no real ambition to sign Jamal Lewis. They put a 9 million bid in, had it rejected, never went again.
Yeah.
The fact that Newcastle put in 10.25, had it accepted, just shows the difference of how what they're doing their business as. Thiago looks more and more likely each day he'll come in, but at the expense of Wijnaldum.
I
So it's
think.
not any gain. There's loss and gain.
Yeah, I think that when the pressure's been on, Wijnaldum's been a player that's delivered for Liverpool. So I think that would be. And there's talks that they'll let go of him for 20 million. I'm not. I'm not too
20
sure why they're
million.
only asking for that.
I believe it's just 20 million because they want to just finance the deal for Thiago. I don't
Yeah.
believe they're looking for anything more. They're looking
Get him
for
off
a
the wage
straight
books as well.
out of the wage books, get Thiago straight in, quick as you like. Klopp has admitted. Klopp was recently talking about how he doesn't want to be a team that's known for their high spending, which I actually find quite comical because to win the title this season, they spent 150
Spent a
million
lot of money, yeah.
on a
Um,
defender and a goalkeeper between the two. So
that's a lot of money. Um, so my third place pick was Chelsea. Obviously, you've already spoken about Chelsea. I think they're looking like they're going to be the biggest spenders this summer. But sort of so far, they're proving that to be the case with the signs of Werner and Ziyech and Havertz. I think they're still lacking in the defensive area. I think that's what will stop them from being on Liverpool and City's level. I think they're on the verge of it. I don't think they're on it. Yeah, it's basically just down to the defence really that I've put them behind those two. Other than that, I think going forward, Chelsea are going to be sort of a force to be reckoned with this season. And when those players sort of get more game time together, sort of get to know each other a bit more, I think that's just, goals everywhere. So that's kind of all I have to say about Chelsea other than what you spoke about. Obviously, Lampard giving Kepa another chance if they don't sign a goalkeeper is maybe another reason to be concerned with the defensive
it's a
area.
big risk.
But if it means, I don't think this is the season where Lampard goes, all right, our target is to win the league. I think that they can give it another year, and maybe they'll have better goalkeeping options to sign goalkeepers. They'll have better sort of better people available. Maybe Oblak might. I don't know. Atletico Madrid might drive down their asking price, and I think that would kind of be the solution. They're not desperate. They've still got Willy Caballero, who's perfectly sort of. He's been a Premier League player for a while now, so I don't think it's a major concern of theirs. So fourth place. This is where the bias might kick in here. Both of us being Arsenal fans, if you didn't know already. We've both gone with Arsenal. I'll let you start.
It was a really hard one because I'm going to jump the gun and I'm going to talk about fourth and fifth in this one. I feel like I may talk about it in pairs for the next couple, because I think with mid-table it is quite a hard thing to comment so much on. I've also gone fifth with United. I was so torn between the two because I think for a while at the start of the season United looked like they could be developing something special.
Mm-hmm.
However, so far with just the signing of Van der Beek, they need so much more. I see a defence with two bang average centre halves. I see a right back that is completely underperformed. I see a midfield which is screaming for more creativity to help drive Bruno.
I
Um,
think that they need also like Van der Beek, Pogba, and Bruno. None of them are sort of gonna protect the defence at
there's
all.
no an out and out anchor man in there. That's what they need.
You need like a sort of a new Matic.
I absolutely love Matic. I think Matic is incredible, probably one of the best players to have done it in the Premier League. However, the man, he's 33 now. His legs can't do it anymore. Um, they definitely could have done with looking at some players like Thomas Partey, but they just haven't shown a desire in it. They've wasted a lot of their transfer business on Sancho.
Which is a
I
player
think
that
Sancho would
Arsenal
be an
still
incredible
may yet
addition.
sign.
Yeah, I do believe that Sancho would be an incredible addition, but to spend the last 2 months working on a deal for him, it's not positive
Dortmund, yeah,
signs.
it's not looking like Dortmund will budge now. Man United is sort of about a month, about a month past Dortmund's like deadline, if you like. Um, yeah, but as you were saying, like Partey is still a player that Arsenal may yet sign if we're talking about both fourth and fifth. I think that yeah, that would kind of give Arsenal the sort of defensive stability that they need. So, well, we've been alright defensively ever since Arteta's come in. Really, it was sort of scoring goals to win games and not draw them that was our real problem. But I think as you know, as time goes on, I think that will happen. With Aubameyang in the team, it would be sort of concerning if that problem were to carry on. So I think scoring goals will be alright. But yeah, I just mainly think defensively is where not having someone to protect the defence is where United will fall short. I think if Arsenal get Partey in, I think that's sort of the thing that will sort of put them there. Just someone in that sort of role. Um,
See,
go on.
personally, I disagree with that. I don't think Arsenal are screaming for this anchor man as much as people may see. Um, when I've watched Arsenal in recent weeks nearer the end of the season, I thought Granit Xhaka was exceptional. He's picking up space in which he definitely needed to. Um, I do believe that we need a creative midfielder. I know within recent weeks we've been linked with Aouar, or Aouar, I can't ever pronounce his name properly. Um, and with the looking like of Martinez leaving for 20 million, we've already offered 30, that's 50. The valuation is 60.
Yeah,
I get there's a lot more to it than that. I'm not sitting there and saying money goes straight in and out. But it is just as simplistic as you like it. If the is Martinez going to win us a league in goal? Probably not. Will Aouar give us the edge to probably go into top four? And is he a player that could easily win a team a title? 100%. The talent I saw of that kid in the Champions League against Man City was next to none. He's got talent. He brings drive. He is exactly what Arsenal need.
and I think
I do think the deal is still alive there, personally.
yeah I've based on what you've said with our sort of transfer budget and then what the money we'll get for Emi Martinez, I think that the only thing you need to kind of add on to that is Arteta just going, come on, a little bit more money. It's only a little bit more, and the team will probably benefit more in competition prize money if we have Aouar in the team. So I think that's
Yeah.
kind of what Arteta needs to get across to get that signing over the line. Um, but yeah, I think that's sort of Arsenal and Man United talked about there. We move on to sixth place. We both have the same pick again. I'll let you introduce that.
So again, like I said, I'm probably going to comment on two at a time now, um,
Okay.
just to keep
In
things.
in fairness, in that way, you might as well because we've got a couple in seventh and eighth that are just kind of swapped around. So go with sixth, seventh,
Yeah,
and eighth, mate.
yeah. Why not? I think we're quite similar in up until about. Yeah, we're quite similar in the whole thing. I think I could comment on three at a time. Um, so I've gone sixth, seventh, and eighth. I've gone sixth. I've gone Spurs. Seventh Wolves. Eighth Everton.
Mhm.
Um, Spurs are Spurs. I think Mourinho is the right man to take them forward. I think he's definitely a winner. Wherever he's gone, he's won. However, the players they have brought in this season are nowhere near good enough. Joe Hart,
Yeah.
Højbjerg, and Doherty, none of which improve that side massively. Doherty, yes, because Aurier is awful. Højbjerg, no, and Joe Hart is Joe Hart. It
I th-
just doesn't do enough to drive them into anywhere near top four.
let's be honest, he was signed and benched for Burnley for a reason.
Mm.
That's kind of all you need to know, really. So we're going. So I guess this is sort of the battle for the last European places. We've also got. So you've said Spurs, Wolves, Everton. I've said Spurs, Everton, Wolves. Why do you think that's the order out of those three?
Again, Wolves 7th. There was something about Wolves nearing the end of the season. They lost their kind of magic that Wolves are known for.
Yeah.
I don't think the signings have been fantastic, if I'm honest. I expected a little bit more out of Wolves. I just think naturally, with injuries to their team, I know Johnny's out for 2 months. He's a massive driving force at left wing back with Doherty going. Could this be the end of the 5-back that they're so well known for? Which I think could completely lose their drive, okay? There is argues that you can play Adama Traore right wing back and Vinagre left wing back, but they're nowhere near the capable levels of what the other fullbacks were. I think Nuno, unless he can bring in some names, may have a little bit more of a disappointing season. And 8th, I've gone for Everton, purely because I want to love Everton.
Yeah.
Every time Everton sign players, they don't know how to use them.
Which was made clear a lot recently with Richarlison, obviously signed for 50 million, 40 or 50, from Watford, and I think as much as he's shown flashes, I think that's sort of what you're on about.
Yeah, I mean, you have James Rodriguez, Doucouré, and Allen. That could be arguably one of the best midfields in the league. However, Everton have always signed players of this calibre. There has never been a time when they don't sign players of that calibre.
Just look at Alex
And
Iwobi,
they never,
my God.
ever hit the road running. They never get going. However, 8th, I do still feel is a good position for Everton considering last season's standards. I think Ancelotti is the man who could probably get them working, but I think a bid for Europe is still quite of an ask.
Yeah.
Considering who's in front of them. You've still got to remember, you've obviously got the likes of United, Spurs, Wolves ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, do they have a better team than them? Do they have a better manager than them? No. So that someone has to finish 8th, and unfortunately, that's just where Everton slipped for me.
Okay. Sort of, I've gone. So you went Spurs, Wolves, Everton. I went Spurs, Everton, Wolves. Spurs, I think, in terms of they're still part of the big six for me. With Mourinho, is just sort of he's the winner that they need, in my opinion. I agree with you on that. It was sort of sad last season to see Poch go, because he was such like a driving force to Spurs sort of consolidating themselves, getting a couple of top fours as well in that time, which is no mean feat. You sort of got to look at that as Spurs have got to be sort of in the driving force for that last Europa League spot, especially with Harry Kane, who is prolific every single season, whether he's injured, whether he's not. He just sort of seems to come back and hit the ground running again. He scores a lot of goals, and I think it'll be no different this season. I think that will sort of secure Tottenham the last Europa League group stage spot. Obviously, 7th could go depending on what happens in the cups, and I've got Everton in that driving seat for the 7th place over Wolves, purely for the fact you've got, like you said, you've got to look at Everton as you've got to see that they have failed with a lot of their high quality or supposedly high quality signings in the past. You sort of, you start to question that when you look at 35 million for Alex Iwobi, but we won't go on to that. Um, I just sort of think with James and Allen, as much as you can kind of look at it in that negative way of that they're just going to flop, I do think I'm still kind of giving them that chance. It is very much like a 50-50 one. You can either say they're going to flop, or you've got to say they're very good players. Everton are a better side this season. I'm trying to be optimistic in that sense for Everton and say that they're improving the side. And I guess that just kind of puts them over Wolves. I just think Wolves are just the next best team in my opinion. I think that just sort of they're always in the game in the sense that they sort of play this defensive style, and it kind of, you can't really get past them very well. And I think when they can nick a goal with Raul Jimenez, I think that sort of gives them the edge, and they're always in a game. And I think that's just what puts them there above, I guess, the rest of the league. It's going to be close between Wolves and Everton for sure. So yeah, that's just kind of what I think of Wolves. So we've got this now sort of goes into sort of the mid-table section of the league, where we've got basically the same teams, just in a very different order. I'll let you start with mid-table. So you've got Southampton as your 9th place team. I assume you're going to start talking about some of the next ones as well.
Yeah, I know this is a big one. It's mid-table. I don't think there's much more comments you can say on it, so I'm going to go 9th all the way to 17th, if I'm honest.
Okay, go to 16th, because we've got some teams in that relegation battle that are like pretty close together.
Yes, definitely.
Go. Yeah. Go on.
So I've got 9th Southampton. I think Hall has just done a fantastic job. I think they definitely underperformed last season. I think the 9-0 to Leicester was just an absolute. It was a beating that no one saw coming.
I think that's kind of when they got their shit together. Really, I think that's.
Yeah, definitely. With what he made them do, he told them they had to pay their wages to charity. He made sure that all the fans were refunded, and then for the fact that in the reverse fixture they won 2-1 just shows how far they came.
Yeah, that's a 10-goal swing.
You know, I think that for the way that they perform under Hasenhüttl, you have to remember some of the games they won. I mean, they beat Man City like near the end of the season. They picked up some really massive points. I'm a massive fan of Hasenhüttl. I think he's got Southampton not firing again. I think he's just got them where they should be again.
I think sort of picking up where they left off from when they had the likes of Mane and Van Dijk, and you look at the team that Southampton, the players that Southampton had in the past, you kind of wonder why they're not sort of in the top 6, why they've sort of let those players go, and they're just kind of where they are. But I guess we'll kind of like continue down the league. You've got Leicester, West Ham and Newcastle following Southampton.
Yeah, I've gone Leicester 10th, which may raise a few eyebrows. Losing Chilwell was a big loss. It really is going to affect them, I believe. I know they've just brought in Timothy Castagne. He's naturally a right back, so that's kind of confused me slightly and why they're going to try and attempt to play in left back. I do believe Leicester, just with the drop they had, to be so dominant in 3rd place, and then to suddenly fall into 5th.
I think, yeah, like with losing Chilwell, that's going to sort of affect them a bit more, don't you think?
Yeah, of course. I love Brendan Rodgers. I think what he's done at Leicester was fantastic. However, just they are very reliant on an older team. I think when you're relying on a 32, 33-year-old Vardy and there's no looks like there's going to be a replacement.
That's the thing. I kind of think that's why the Chilwell sale is so crucial, because he's that sort of one of the last sort of drops of youth in their first team, in their like first 11, that is now not part of the 11. If you've got any.
they may surprise everyone. I just don't think we're going to see spectaculars out of Leicester this season. I think
Yeah.
the magic is slowly drying up again. I think even you could compare it to their title-winning season. To go on to win the title, they won mid-table the next season.
Yeah. But
Um, Obviously under different circumstances, they went through two managers. However, now you have Rodgers in. They overachieved again in fifth. Will we see a repeat? I personally think we will. Um, Again, 11th is probably going to raise some eyebrows. I've gone West Ham.
yeah. Go on.
Um,
Why is that?
the way they played after the restart, they were a different side.
I
I
think
think,
it does help a lot with the fact that there's been a short break between seasons, so they kind of get to keep some sort of momentum.
yeah, definitely. I think David Moyes is obviously he's got his name in the history books as maybe arguably one of the worst managers in England.
Certainly one
Um,
of the most laughable.
However, I don't think he's awful. I do think he's a manager that could definitely keep West Ham alive this season. You have to remember where they were in the table to finish out of the relegation zone. They did very well to do so. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of talk at the moment with the Dean Garner sales of West Brom, such a small fee, and then the outrage that then stirred on social media from Mark Noble. There is a little talks of, does that team still want to play? I believe they do. Um, if I'm completely honest, I am more against what Mark Noble did. I believe that Mark Noble should have. This is something that shouldn't be on social media. It should have, if he had that much concern, it should have gone to the owners. All it does is it creates a story that doesn't need to be created.
Yeah.
Um, but I think West Ham will be a decent side this season. I do think, however, they could really struggle. I believe their first 10 games they have to play all of the top six across those first 10, that is nobody wants that kind of start to the league.
It kind of, I guess it kind of, if you, well, you can't expect them to sort of win those games, but it kind of, it's very difficult to pick yourself up after losing that many games if they do, no matter who they're against. So I guess that might be the only sort of shadow of doubt over West Ham's season. Sort of on with your predictions, I guess, if you're going to do all the way to about 15th, 16th, carry on.
Yeah, 12th Newcastle. Um, Not much to say on Newcastle. I think with the Newcastle the bid, excuse me, not coming through. Um, that was a big blow to them. However, they have brought in some good players. Jeff Hendrick on a free, Callum Wilson for 20 million, Ryan Fraser on a free, Jamal Lewis for 15 million. With the look and likely of maybe Rob Holden on loan as well.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe these are good signings that will improve their side. However, I am not too sure that Steve Bruce will know how to work this team. If that makes sense, I don't think Bruce is an incredible manager.
It's certainly players like Alan San Maximin are a little bit too much flair compared to what Steve Bruce has had in the past.
Yeah, I think with the likes of them, they could be a little bit too much for him.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those ones where I believe that Newcastle could finish anywhere. They are a team that either extremely overperform or extremely underperform.
Yeah,
It'd be nice to see them find some middle ground.
I think that with those teams that are in this section that you're talking about now, it's almost like any of them can finish anywhere. I think you can kind of make a case for any of them doing well, and you can make a case for any of them doing like total trash.
This is going to be very unprofessional of me, but there is someone at the door, so just you carry on with yours, and I'll be back in 2 seconds.
All right. I'll carry on with mine then. So my mid-table, I've gone with Leicester in ninth. Very much the reasons that Josh spoke about, with Leicester not kind of carrying the fight to Spurs and the Wolves. But I also think there's a lot of, they've only lost Chilwell, so you can't think they'd be too far behind them. They've still got the prolific scorer that is Jamie Vardy. You've also got a lot of the quality around him that they've sort of picked up. Really, since they won the title, obviously they sold a lot of their players and brought new ones in. I think that's very much where Leicester sort of lies, just off of the Spurs Everton Wolves battle, sort of threatening to get involved in it, but not really doing so. In 10th, I've got Newcastle. I think very much, like Josh said, a very unpredictable team. You've got to think that they have got a lot of quality in their side with the signings of, say, the Rob Holden signing and all. I think it could have been, bigger aspirations for Newcastle if the takeover had happened. That's a lot of money. I know it was all over social media about just how much money this Newcastle side could spend if the takeover had happened. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened, so I think that aspirations just lie with being 10th, getting in the top half. I think that would be a good season for Newcastle. And then in 11th, I've got Southampton. Southampton, very much the reasons that Josh said, sort of, if they can carry on their momentum from last season, ever since, like we talked about, the 9-0 defeat to Leicester, I think that sort of getting in that battle for the top half would be a good season for Southampton, but not to be unexpected. Which leads me to my 12th place pick, which is Leeds United. I think Leeds United have sort of... I know there's a lot of rumours they're heavily invested in their attack. I think that is going to be their key asset for this season. Leeds are going to be good at scoring goals. I do think the concern is with Leeds that they have a couple of makeshift fullbacks that a few years ago were definite championship level, and I think that's kind of an area that they need to invest if they want to build their way into being the force that they were, what is years ago now.
I do believe the fear for Leeds, especially, is if they've got a very old squad as well. When you look at it on paper, they've got one of their big creative players is Pablo Hernandez. He's 37.
Yeah. Is he that old?
Yeah, he's not. If he was 31, you'd go, oh, this would be a brilliant player for the Premier League. But I think to be 36, 37...
I think it's very much about, can we get one more season out of him?
Yeah, it's just more, can we get one big push out of him? There's been some massive breaking news this morning. Bielsa has signed a 1-year extension, which is massive for Leeds.
Yeah.
I think if they lost Bielsa, that was them out of the Premier League straight away.
I think that sort of Bielsa is certainly a man that's rated by a lot of the top managers around. I know Pep owes a lot of his success to sort of conversations with Bielsa. I think that's he's very much a man that can help Leeds get where I predict them to be 12th this season. So we've sort of both done our 9th to 12th. If you want to go to sort of 13th to 15th, 16th.
Yeah, it's going to sound strange when I say this. What you're going to learn across this series, to anyone who continues to listen with us, which we'd hope we'd have some following throughout, is that I don't like Burnley. Never have, never will. So it really hurts me to say Burnley in 13th.
Go on.
I think they're a squad that just always finish mid-table. It irritates me they stay up, because I don't like that ginger prick. I think he's so negative.
Sounds like a robot as well.
He almost doesn't love football, and every time he speaks, he seems to moan about everything.
I think his voice doesn't really help him in the fact that he always sounds really uninspired.
He just sounds always really upset and angry.
Yeah.
And they've just got a bang average squad.
It's kind of, you never really notice Burnley. They don't really threaten to get relegated, and they don't really threaten to get in the top half.
I was making this. You were writing down the teams, and you go, "Oh, Burnley are in the Prem still." You kind of forget. They're almost like the new Stoke City, like when you used to talk in like 2011, 12, and go, "Oh, Stoke, they'll never go up, they'll never go down." It's quite sad now.
It's funny because it's all of a sudden Stoke then finish like ninth, like 3 seasons in a row, and have some really good seasons, and then they get relegated a couple of years later. So then it very much became Stoke were sort of nobodies, and then all of a sudden they were doing all of this. But yeah, I think that's very much what Burnley are, is sort of the boring team of the Prem.
And I could even see you've gone 13th with them as well, which I think we're under the same belief of why they will finish there.
Yeah, I certainly think that it's just 13th just really feels like the place. They're not really in the battle with sort of Newcastle and Leicester and that to get top half, and Southampton and the like, but they're not quite crap enough to get relegated.
That's the
They're
thing.
just
You have to be bad enough to be relegated, but you also have to be good enough to do something, and that's why for so long Stoke managed to stay up.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, they're of the same ilk. But if you want to carry on, do your sort of 14th to 15th, 16th. You want to explain? The team's just
14th,
above.
Palace. It's going to sound really strange. A lot of people in England actually hate the man. I'm a big fan of Roy Hodgson. I think what he's doing with Palace is actually he's creating quite a good little side. I think to keep a hold of Zaha, he did well there already. Bringing in Eze, arguably one of the best upcoming talents from the Championship, warded off interest from teams like Arsenal, for God's sake. So you've got to give him credit there. I think he's got a very good defensive unit. I believe Palace had one of the better defences.
Yeah, I think that Roy Hodgson very much instills discipline in the team, and I think that kind of helps you see the defence as maybe better than the sum of its parts.
Sorry, I would take
carry on with your
it's just
teams.
When you look at some of their transfers, like they struggled with a centre half for ages, and most teams they'll go spend 50-60 million on a centre back. They got Gary Cahill on the free, and I don't think that was spoken enough about, that he managed to get an England capped international, a Champions League winner, on a free.
Yeah, and multiple time Premier League winner as well.
And Vincent Guayata. I mean, as much as you want to talk about Wayne Hennessy, because he is a Wales legend, he's shit.
The words of Robbie Savage, not us.
Yeah, he is shit. Sorry for my bad language there, but no, there's only one way to explain Wayne Hennessy, and that is shit.
He's certainly
Vincent Guayata, they got on a free, and is exceptional.
Yeah, I think he's certainly a better player than Hennessy is. I don't think many people other than Robbie Savage have a different opinion to that. You've got Leeds next.
Leeds, I didn't want to put 15th. Love Bielsa, love the fans, love the team. Are they good enough? It's their first season in the Prem.
Yeah, I think that's very much sort of the other side of the coin to what I was saying about Leeds when I predicted 12th. They're still a newly promoted side. Go on.
And I think the last time they came to the Prem, Arsenal won a title. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah. Can we have a repeat?
Can we have a repeat? Probably not.
Fingers and toes
15
crossed.
years ago, they were last in the Prem. It's all eyes on Leeds.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
When you look at the other two sides that have come up, they're sides that are always in the Prem, of West Brom and Fulham. But when you look at Leeds, they haven't been in the Prem for 15 years. There is so much pressure on Leeds to stay up this season.
Yeah, I think it's very much they're. It's funny because Leeds, for a club that only has spent so much time in the second division, I think it's kind of weird that a team like that is still so well supported. You kind of feel like teams like that, the fans sort of quieten down a bit, but there's always seems to be Leeds fans everywhere. It's weird, but
they're just a massive club.
Yeah, they certainly are. Anything else to say about Leeds, or then you've got Brighton next?
I don't really know what else to say on Leeds. Leeds are just a bit of a difficult club. I think they're a bit of a marmite. I think you find a United fan, they'd despise them. but I think you find a London-based fan, they'd love him. I think Bielsa's again a Marmite, but I think the Pep to rate him so highly and call him his apprentice,
Yeah,
not his apprentice, his mentor. Sorry.
other way around.
Um, yeah, I'm getting it wrong now. I think is a very very big thing to have against your name.
Yeah,
I think for someone like Pep Guardiola, a multiple Champions League winner, just a winner in general, to say he was my mentor, he created me, that is it just shows how much respect other managers have for him. I know today Klopp has said that he can't wait to shake his hand, bump his hand, because obviously with what's
touch
going on at the moment, there will
elbows.
be no shaking of hands on here. Um, so it is a difficult season. I think with the teams in it and the investment around them, I think they'll struggle,
Yeah,
but I don't think they'll go down. I think they're a bit like Burnley. They're too bad to. They're too good to go down. Sorry.
except for Leeds actually have the. Sorry, are you on to Brighton or
I still on Leeds.
still
Sorry,
on
I
Leeds?
just
So
don't
yeah,
think they're.
except Leeds have some sort of exciting nature to them.
Yeah. Going to drop down to 16th for a team that actually I quite like. Under Graham Potter, especially Brighton. I think 16th may be a bit low for them. I know you've gone 16th as well. But I think they've brought in some exciting players. They've brought in Joel Veltman, um, Ajax fullback,
At one
3
point, a very
million.
highly rated player.
That's exactly what I mean. At 3 million, Adam Lallana on a free, and to get out the players they are. I mean, they've managed to get someone to take Glenn Murray on loan.
That is
Someone somewhere
unbelievable.
in Brighton needs a pay rise.
Yeah, certainly whoever's on their transfer team.
Graham Potter has already said that he's happy with his squad, however, he still wants to improve. I think getting Ben White on a new deal was brilliant, especially for the money they were being offered by Leeds. To not cave into the demands of what Leeds were asking shows how strong of a will-minded club they are and how far they want to actually achieve. I think Lewis Dunk and Ben White will be a very, very strong partnership.
Lewis Dunk's
Obviously, with the
been
loss
sort
of
of reliable for ages for Brighton, hasn't he?
yeah, and they've even got him on a long-term deal. I think that they've managed to take their key players and tie them down, um, which is it's a massive thing to do at that level. When Chelsea is sniffing around, when Leeds are sniffing around, to get these players on long-term deals just shows how ambitious this club is.
Yeah, it kind of it really shows that we are a Premier League club and we're going to show why we're a Premier League club and why we're going to stay a Premier League club. Um, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Um, I'll go into my sort of. So you've just done 14th to 16th. I think obviously I was chipping in a little bit with Brighton there. I think I sort of said what I needed to say about Brighton, but 14th I've gone with West Ham. I think sort of there's the reasons that you said about West Ham could kind of continue their momentum from last season, but I just think that there's West Ham like to go through patches in their season of good and bad form, and I think maybe those patches of bad form will just kind of cost them getting up into sort of battling for the top half. So I just think that 14th is kind of like where West Ham sort of will end up after these sort of. There's no doubt that they have the quality to be fighting for the top half. They have some good players in their team. Towards the end of the season, Michael Antonio, he relegated Norwich by scoring. It was 4 against them, wasn't it?
Yes.
So there's no doubt they've got the players that have the ability to show up on their day. But I just think the key part of that is being on their day. Certainly need to get more out of Felipe Anderson as well. Although you could say them having Felipe Anderson in the team anyway is a massive asset to them. I just kind of I'm not too sure about West Ham, so I've just kind of stuck them in there in a roundabouts in those sort of places. 15th I've gone with Crystal Palace. I kind of think there's obviously all the unsettle over Zaha. It kind of happens every year. It wasn't as publicised this year. I think mainly because the world has bigger matters at hand. but I still think Palace are way too good of a side to go down. Sort of in the midfield and defence, they've got a lot of players that are It's very much like maybe like a lower quality version of Wolves in the sense that they always seem to be in a game when they can sort of hold teams back, and then they've got the quality of Zaha when he wants to play for the team, who can then go up and pop a goal at the other end, like I said about Raul Jimenez for Wolves. So I think very much I sort of like to compare those two teams mainly on their sort of similar ways of going about the game. After Palace, I've got Brighton, which we spoke about, and obviously I chipped in about. I think very much the player that I love at Brighton, not just because he shares the same name as me, but Lewis Dunk. I think he is just ever reliable for Brighton, and I think he won't let him down for another season. I don't really have anything else to say about Brighton. They're just that bit too good to be relegated.
Yeah.
So we'll go on with. So we've got 17th and 18th, the last of the survivors and the first of the relegated. Go on.
I've done my survival, which again, is a bit of an iffy one. Writing this, I was a little bit didn't know if I wanted to do it. My survival will be Aston Villa.
Yeah.
I think they're a squad in which they could do it if they really want to. I just don't. It's so difficult because someone has to go down. And when I was writing this out, I thought, are Aston Villa good enough to go down? Are they bad enough to go down? I don't think they are. I'm not a massive fan of Grealish, I'll admit that. I do slate him quite a bit. But is he too good for the Championship? Yes, he is.
I think there's no doubt that he's a Premier League player. I just think he's a bit of a twat. That's the thing I don't like about him.
I think if they can get the additions in of Emi Martinez, I think if they can get a winger in, they could be laughing. I don't think they'll fly up the table. I just think they'll be safe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think Dean Smith is very Villa through and through. And I think that could play a massive part in keeping them up this season.
Yeah. I think sort of his passion certainly, you'd like to think it goes through to the players when they step on that pitch. I think the team I've got to survive is Sheffield United, and I think we're both of the opinion. I mean, a little bit of a spoiler there. Josh hasn't said Sheffield United yet, so you can kind of guess where Josh puts them. I kind of think that last season was that they did well. I'm not going to deny that they did well for large periods of, particularly the first half of the season last year. I think that maybe their form after the restart is certainly more of a reflection of what will happen this season, plus the fact that they don't have Henderson on for another year. I think that is huge for them. That's kind of make or break. That is kind of my reasons for Sheffield not hitting the heights that they did last season. That being said, a lot of the sort of key players that started a lot of the games, McBurney and the like, are still part of this side, and you can't just say, oh well, a goalkeeper's going to put Sheffield all the way down into the relegation zone. That's why I think they're just about going to survive, and that puts them as my 17th place team. On to the relegated, if you'd like to lead us.
I've gone quite bold with 18th. 19th and 20th, I think, speak for themselves. Sheffield, 18th. A lot of people are going to raise eyebrows again about this. I'm probably not going to be very loved during this. We have a lot of Yorkshire fans listening to this.
Yeah.
I do believe that Sheffield United have just brought in young Championship talent. I believe if they'd have brought in older Championship talent or older Premier League talent, they would know how to survive better. But when you're bringing in Championship youngsters, it's too much of a risk. When they signed Phil Jagielka, brilliant signing because he brings the experience to the back line. But when you sign Oliver Burke, you don't bring anything to that team.
Yeah.
You know, one player I think Sheffield United, if they signed, I think would do night and day for them is Troy Deeney. I think he's got prem experience coming out of his ears, but they have gone for a lot of the cheaper options and Championship talent. I just don't think that will keep them alive this season. I think with the loss of Dean Henderson, granted they've brought in Ramsdale, but when you put the two together, Ramsdale was nothing like Dean Henderson. Dean Henderson was phenomenal. Um, I just don't think they'll be good enough to stay up this season.
Fair enough.
19th, West Brom. Very, very... Again, this was a hard one to do for West Brom. Love Slaven Bilic. Probably one of my favourite managers to grace the Prem in a very long time. I think he's an exceptional manager. But the team is very, very young in certain areas and very old in certain areas. It's going to sound very confusing when I say that, but if you look at their fullbacks, I believe their fullbacks are 21 and 22.
Yeah.
And you look at their centre halves, they're going into their 30s.
Which
You
is,
look at their midfield, it's really old. The wingers are really young. So it's a very inconsistent team. That could benefit them loads if you've got a mixture of the old and the youth in there. However, I just don't think West Brom have really invested. I think they've spent a lot of their money in their packages, their parachute packages coming up, in buying the loans and making them permanent.
Yeah. I think that's very much. And you've got, if you want to talk about sort of last place and why you put
last
them
place
in the order that you did.
Or if you've ever seen the film Goal, Fulham.
Go on.
They just don't seem very good, quite frankly. They came up through the playoffs from a fluke goal. Granted, the second was exceptional. I don't think Scott Parker's good enough.
Go on.
Yeah, I just don't think Scott Parker's good enough. Love Scott Parker, love his old tactics, loved him as a player. Prem experience has none. A lot of that 11 doesn't have any Prem experience. But I wrote this before they made their signings. Since then, they've signed Olia Aina, Kenny Tete, and Areola.
Yeah,
So, writing this, you do feel a little bit silly now. But Areola has never played for the Prem. Olia Aina went off to Torino because he never made it in a Chelsea shirt. And Kenny Tete has been let go for $4 million by Leon.
That's the thing. When he was at one point, you know, to be fair, he's probably still rated by a lot of people as a very good player.
Well, he's only 24. This is what baffled me. I felt he'd been around for ages, but 24, 4-year deal with an option of a further year on his contracts. That could be massive. It could be massive for Fulham. But I just don't think Fulham are good enough. Quite frankly, I think Mitrovic is a Championship striker. I think he brings a physical presence to the Prem that the Prem has missed. When I say physical presence, I mean a lot of red cards. But the only reason he does it in the Championship is because the Championship is the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Prem isn't, and he can't play at that level, in my opinion.
I feel like the Premier League certainly is more of a shift to technically gifted players as opposed to sort of physically imposing players.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you done with Fulham then?
That's me completely done with Fulham.
All right, that'll move us on to my 3 relegated teams. So Aston Villa and Sheffield. What Josh has done, I've just swapped it the other way around. I've got Villa as the top team to get relegated. The only reason I think for this is I think as much as Grealish is Villa through and through, first of all I think if he is still, his heart is still with the club. I know he's a Villa fan, but I know there's a lot of talks of other clubs. Even if that doesn't distract him, Grealish, he's got a lot of talent, but he's still just one player. And I think that in other areas of the pitch, I just don't think Aston Villa just cut it ahead of. You've got to very much compare it to other teams in the league, and I just don't think they don't just hang with some of the other teams in the league in terms of sort of having quality throughout their 11. I think a lot, and also you look at the players that they do have. If they hit an injury crisis, they don't really have much quality outside of their 11 either. So I think that it's very much like a. I do think they're going to put up a fight nonetheless, but I think it's going to be just sort of, a dollar short for Aston Villa. In terms of what I've got, you've got West Brom 19th. I've got Fulham again. I've just flipped that over. This very much for me was just like pulling a name out of a hat for which one would finish last. I just think now I'm kind of glad I put Fulham ahead of West Brom because of their signings. Like Josh said, we did these predictions sort of over a week ago. This is very much not taken into account Fulham's new signings. But I just kind of see that's where it is, and I don't really see much hope for Fulham or West Brom in terms of staying up. I think they're just kind of going to be, that's where they are, and they're sort of doomed to return to the Championship. Not that I think either team have really set their aspirations for getting sort of top half in the Premier League, but I think both teams will look to battle, but I just don't think either of the team's managers can really be blamed if they go back down. But yeah, I guess that concludes our league table predictions. We've got some more predictions for across the season here. We've got our top 3 scorers in the league. Also, I must say, for these predictions, we do have a set of like ways we're going to keep like a points tally to sort of compare how good we were at predicting against each other, sort of get a bit of a competitive nature in there. We have got a point system that I will leave on the screen for the majority, if not all of the podcast. But we move on to our top scorers. So we've both gone with the same player as our top scorer. Would you like to introduce him?
Yeah, I think with this, I'm not going to do much talking. It's just going to be names. I'm not really going to give any reasons. I think talking across all that prediction, I don't really want to talk too much more and bore anyone more. I think they just want to hear names and numbers. So my top goal scorers, I've gone Aubameyang.
Yeah.
Self-explanatory. The man is full of goals. Harry Kane. Hate to say this because he can barely say his own name, but he's disgustingly talented in front of the goal. And I think under Mourinho, he looks a different player, especially. So I think that he could be dangerous this season. And thirdly, Anthony Martial. I think he's really coming to his own, and I do think he'll do very well this season.
I think with Bruno behind him, that'll help him a lot, won't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you said you're going to be few of words. Is that you done for the top scorers?
That is me done for that.
All right, so I guess kind of these few bits we're just going to kind of whiz through. The sort of league table predictions is kind of have been the meat of this podcast. I've gone with Aubameyang also as my top scorer. There may be a little bit of Arsenal bias in there, but I think you can absolutely see, as a fan of any club's perspective, of why I pick Aubameyang. He's a very talented striker. He's got a lot of goals in him. He's just a natural finisher. I just think that, he's everything that he doesn't always have. There will be a lot of people that question whether he has like bags and bags to his game. I just think as a striker, he's what you need. He's goals, finishing, getting into the positions. He's what you want. And then not really much to explain for the next two, Aguero and Kane. They're both players that for a number of years has been some have talked about as the best players in the Premier League, and certainly some of the best in their position. I don't think there's too much else to say. We'll go on to our top assists, if you give us your top 3.
Yeah, again, assists. I think the first 2 are self-explanatory. I've gone Bruno. Took the Prem by storm. Even myself, love Bruno, especially when he's a rival player as well. I think he's exceptional. Kevin, equalised the record. Can't say much more than that. My third one, again, going to raise eyebrows. Dele Alli. Don't know why. To be quite honest. I just feel he's going to come into his own this season.
I think
don't really know why.
Yeah, I mean, I
Just as
think
simple as that. I
certainly
just kind of.
if Mourinho can revive, if any man can revive a player, it's Mourinho. I think that that's certainly something he'll look to do is bring Ali back to where he was a few years ago under Poch.
Mm.
My top three, I've got Kevin De Bruyne. I just think he's just so good at getting assists. Really, I think um, that's kind of all I have to say. He was the top assist maker in the Premier League last season. I think I don't really need to give any other reasons than that. And Bruno second. He's taken the Prem by storm. I think he's going to be involved in a lot of goals and sort of everything that United really do going forward. And third, I've got Pulisic. I think that sort of once he got over his sort of injury worries throughout last season, I thought he was sort of instrumental in being Chelsea's real sort of driving force in the attack, and I don't think that will change for this season. Um, Golden Glove. We've sort of gone for each Brazilian goalkeeper here. Give us your explanation for yours.
I've gone for Edison. Um, he's just the goalkeeper that
I think I've been a bit mean here asking you to explain it because it's just kind of City and Liverpool are very much two teams that are two of the best in the league, and it's kind
Yeah,
of saying
it's just kind of difficult. Um, he is just a player that is very much. Um, he's just a very good goalkeeper, quite frankly. I just think if they can get Koulibaly in, I think his job is going to be so much easier. I think there's so much about goalkeepers make clean sheets. I think defenders do it as well.
I think
They're quite a big
that's
key
very
factor in
much
it.
they've
And
already
this is
got
why
Laporte.
Alisson won it.
Yeah. Um,
But yeah.
Fair enough. My pick was Alisson. Just I just think Liverpool with obviously with Van Dijk ahead of him, it's a nice assurance for a goalkeeper to have that it's not often that he'll need to make saves, and I just think he's a very good goalkeeper. So when he will need to make the saves, I think he'll make them. I don't really have anything else to say. I'd like to kind of push us on to we've predicted the amount of like the top scoring teams, not players this time, the top scoring teams in the league. We've each picked our top three. Go ahead.
So we're going top scorers, yeah?
Yeah,
Uh, Fine with me. I have gone Chelsea. Again, I don't think they're going to have a problem with scoring.
yeah.
I think the goals are going to fly, to be quite honest. It's just more an overall performance. I can't stop yawning, I don't know why. Um, the overhaul, the over. Not getting the word right now. Overall cohesion of the team is going to be what is so key to the final decision of the season they're placing.
Yeah,
But in terms of their actual football itself, I think there's going to be goals.
yeah.
Um, Next to self-explanatory, as you like, City and Liverpool. City are known to kill teams. Liverpool again, they did it a lot last season to win the title. Killed a lot of big teams off.
And you're talking about like as we were saying about Salah earlier, you kind of his goals as well as Mane are kind of going to be what puts Liverpool as one of the top scorers in the league, right?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, nice one. So my predictions are basically Josh's with City and Chelsea swapped around. I think City are going to be the top scorers. I think with sort of the players, your Mahrez's, your Aguero's, your Sterling's, your De Bruyne's, I think their attacking is very much what City do best and what Pep has done best throughout his whole career. So it just kind of those factors kind of come together to put Man City as my top scorers for the season. Chelsea just behind. You look at the signings they've made. I think they might struggle to get goals as those players are sort of getting to know each other first sort of month of the season maybe. But when they get going, I think boy are they going to get going. I think that Havertz and Werner, second top scorer in the Bundesliga. You've got Ziyech, creative mastermind for Ajax. Pulisic, who we saw what he can do in the Prem last season. We've already seen what he can do when he was playing at Dortmund. And I just think Liverpool first, just because I think they're just the sort of the best team other than those two going forward. So I just think that puts Liverpool there with the likes of Salah and Mane. I think that it should very much be said, you shouldn't really be surprised if Liverpool become second or top scorers in the league. I talked about the fullbacks, they create a lot of goals. It's very much, there's a lot of talent in that side. This is just the order I think it will be. And then the teams with the most goals conceded. This was a little bit of a tough one for us to kind of decide, but but in the end we've still got the same three teams.
I personally don't actually see it as much of a hard thing to decide. I've got Aston Villa first. I think they shift goals quite a lot.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a harsh thing to say because they did concede less goals than any other side since the restart. However, I think their problem is when they concede one, the floodgates open.
Yeah, and that's kind of why. Yeah.
Fulham next, again, just comes down to lack of the ability in their squad to stop it happening. I just think they've got a very championship defence.
Yeah.
And again, lastly, West Brom, again, it's the same as Fulham. It's championship defence. You're playing up against some of the best of the rest. You're going to concede goals, unfortunately.
That's exactly it. It's sort of, you're playing against the big dogs now. I think, did you say all three of yours?
Yes.
Yeah, you said all three of yours. Mine's the same three teams, but I've just got Fulham as the top conceded. I just think that I just don't really see them hanging with some of the big teams. I just think when you get the likes of City and Chelsea and United and Liverpool and Arsenal against them, I just think they'll kind of crumble, especially when they're away at those teams. I don't think they'll be able to sort of give in to letting a lot of goals go in those games. And I think I just think that I kind of think that will be their undoing in terms of getting relegated. I just think they'll let in that few too many goals. In terms of just below that, I've got West Brom and Aston Villa just kind of as my other teams that will get relegated, to be honest. I just kind of thought they're the three worst teams in the league in my opinion, and I think they'll concede the most goals. So we've made some, moving on from that, we've made some sort of bold predictions for the season, and what we did is we went through how sort of bold these predictions are, and we rated them either 10 points or 20 points based on how bold they are for our little prediction scoring thing. As I've said before, the point system will be on screen at least while we're giving these predictions. I'll just blitz through mine. I've gone, goal line technology will fail at least once. There's not really much I can do to explain this one. It happened last season with Villa and Sheffield. I just think it's a very bold one to put out there. If it comes true, then it gives me 20 points. So I think I might as well just stick it out there. Another one is a player will see at least 3 red cards throughout the season. I think it's largely sort of unheard of that this would happen, but I don't know. I just kind of have the feeling that someone will. It might be a Mitrovic or someone, to be honest. That'll be sort of the creator of my prediction becoming right. Next, I have the top 3 scorers will all have 25 plus league goals. My top 3 predicted was Aubameyang, Aguero, and Kane. I just think they've got more than what it takes against a lot of some of the weaker defences. You sort of see these players really sort of, getting all the goals against those sorts of teams. To be fair, these players score against anyone, but I think there'll be a lot of goals this season. My next thing is also a goals tally. I think a defender will score at least 10 goals this season in the Prem. Don't ask me why. I just got this feeling, and I just sort of thought I'd throw that out there as a prediction. And my last one is that Dean Smith will be sacked when at any point in the season, really, but maybe when Villa get relegated, if they get relegated. And then on to your bold predictions.
Again, not really going to give too much reason for these because it's predictions. You don't really know why you've done it. I've got Fulham will receive more than 3+ red cards this season. Scott Parker side. Scott Parker was a very, very hard hitting player.
Yeah.
Burnley would be the lowest scoring side this season. That may just be a little bit of me not liking Burnley there. I just think Burnley don't play the most exciting goal scoring football. Um,
Your
yeah,
hatred
that's
is
really
shining
where we're at.
through.
Yeah. Ings will continue his incredible form. I've got that he'll score 15+ goals this season. I think Ings can do it if he doesn't get injured, which is what I'm dependent on here. Um, my next one is actually another goals one. Well, my next two are actually goals ones. I've got Mahrez will score the most goals from the bench. He's actually a player that plays more off the bench than any other player, and seems to score a lot off the bench last season. So I'm hoping he continues that with the arrival of Ferran Torres and stuff like that. It could knock him down the pecking order. And I've got Timo Werner will not score 15+ goals this season. I think he's a player that is a big what if. Purely on the reason of that, because when he plays against bigger sides, he doesn't score. So I think that could be a bit of a fault for him this season.
Okay. So, is that all the scoreline you've got on that?
Yeah, that's it for that.
Okay, lovely. All right, we move on to our game week 1 predictions. This is both scores, and we made some bold predictions for the game week, just like we did the season. Only 3 each for that. It was 5 each for the season. But we're going to get into our score predictions first. Fulham Arsenal was the first game that kicks off the season. Josh, you've said that Arsenal, the away team, will win 3-1. Why is that?
I just look at it as that you've got so much pace of Arsenal that are going to be running at Fulham. It's Fulham's first real test. I think they've been dealt a bit of an unlucky blow to go into this London derby. I also do look at it as that Arsenal do have quite a weak defence. I think the additions of Gabriel and almost looking at Saliba as an additional signing, if you like, will do a lot. However, I do believe that Arsenal have got what it takes overall to win the game quite comfortably.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a bit harsh for Fulham to be dealt a top, well, sort of the traditional Big Six teams, one of them for their first game of the season, but it gets it out of the way. But I've got the same sort of goal margin for you. I've gone Arsenal to win by 2 goals. My prediction is a 2-0 victory. Sort of much the things that you've said. I still think Arsenal will keep a clean sheet though, just because of how sort of organised we've looked under Arteta. I don't really have much to say other than that. We'll move on to Crystal Palace Southampton. Give us your score prediction and why you thought so.
I've gone 2-0 Southampton. Just kind of looking through their previous meetings, the kind of lineups they're looking at. They play a very similar system, but I just think Southampton play it better. It's just as simple as that. Southampton on paper have a better squad, better manager. They are playing at Selhurst Park though, which is obviously a stadium that has got a history of really being a tough place to go. So it could be a real tough game for them, but I've gone with a comfortable 2-0 for Southampton.
I sort of, you said about Palace being the home team, that's kind of the reason for my prediction of a 2-2 draw. I think, yeah, with the two systems going up against each other, they're kind of, the same. Southampton do it better. I just think being at Selhurst Park, I think, is going to give Palace the edge for this first game of the season. That's just, a 2-2 draw is how I see it going.
But you have to argue there, just quickly, I'm just going to throw this in there, you do have to argue the fact of there's no fans.
Yeah, that is a very good point.
By the fans, could that be something that's going to give them a slight edge?
It's going to kind of equal home and away form, you reckon?
Yeah, it's a very arguable point. I just feel as it could be a slight cost for Palace that their very large fan base isn't there.
Yeah. I think to be fair, Selhurst Park is. I've heard a lot from different players and fans that have been to the stadium that place does get rocking when the fans are there. So it'll be a big loss for Palace to not have the fans there with them. We move on to our next fixture is West Ham versus Newcastle. Josh, what's your prediction and why have you predicted it?
West Ham Newcastle. I've gone 2-1 West Ham. Again, obviously these predictions were done before signings.
Yeah.
I do believe that with signings, I may be wrong, but that's obviously the point of a prediction. I just think West Ham edge it in that little bit of class. When you look at them again on paper, they've got that little bit more better ability.
Mm-hmm.
However, I've not gone for an absolute mauling because I do think Newcastle are a side that can give a game.
Yeah. Is that you? Is that you done with that one?
Yeah, that's it. I haven't got much on there.
So I've got a 2-1 win the other way. I've got Newcastle coming out the victors. I mainly put that down to I just think Newcastle just have the quality to get them over the line against West Ham. I think as much as we spoke about in the season predictions that Steve Bruce isn't really sort of the man that gets the most out of that Newcastle side, especially in the attacking areas. I do think that Newcastle's quality will kind of shine through, and that's why I'm going over 2-1 win for Newcastle. The next is an interesting one actually. Liverpool versus Leeds. What's your score prediction and why have you gone for it?
Obviously, it's a game that Leeds would have prayed they would have never have got.
Let's be honest, with Liverpool running away with the title, no team wanted them on the opening day.
To be that kind of game in which it had to be at Anfield as well. It was written in the stars to be this. I do think Leeds will give them a game. I think Bielsa's probably been looking at this game for a very long time. We all know his tactical awareness, what he's like with these types of games. So I do think he can bring a game to Liverpool. However, Liverpool's overall quality compared to this newly promoted Leeds side is 10-0. So I've gone with a 3-1 victory to Liverpool.
So with what you said there, does that mean you reckon it will be sort of later on that Liverpool stretch it to a 2-goal lead?
I do believe for a period, I think we may even see Leeds take the lead. I think Liverpool are going into this game maybe a little bit unexpected of what, like underestimated almost, of what Leeds will actually perform like. But I believe, like we said in the prediction, there's going to be all eyes on Leeds, all eyes on Bielsa. It's just going to be a huge game for both teams, really. I think Liverpool have really got to prove themselves after being in the kind of negative light by the media for underperforming after winning the league, and Leeds again because they've just been promoted. This is they're back to the promised land after so long.
Yeah, I think this is sort of a big chance for Liverpool to prove that they are still hungry for league titles, even after winning one. And obviously for Leeds, it's a massive sort of way for them to go into this huge game and say, look, we're back in the Premier League now. If Leeds could get a result, which you'll see with my prediction, I haven't said they'll get anywhere near getting a result. If Leeds could do that, would it be a massive thing to say, hey, look, we're back. I've gone with 4-1 Liverpool on the flip side of that. I just think Liverpool will prove that they're, gonna hang with the best of the league. I predicted Liverpool to finish second. I do think they are going to finish second, but I just think they're still going to be like really up there chasing City for the league, and I think this will be the start of that campaign.
I mean, Liverpool do have a good track record in their first games of the seasons. I mean, they played Norwich their first game of the season, and they absolutely wiped them off the park. I think it ended 5-1, and this was just the start of what was yet to come in the league. Excuse me.
Let's be honest, that's not the first time Liverpool have battered Norwich, though.
Who doesn't batter Norwich?
Yeah. Man City.
Yes.
But the next game is West Brom Leicester, and you've gone with a bit of a a big one here.
I,
Go on, tell us about it.
I wrote this, and I instantly didn't want to write this.
You want to unwrite it?
What you'll find across this series, like again, I keep saying for anyone that wants to stay with us, is that I'm going to be a massive admirer of Slaven Bilic. I absolutely admire the man. I think he's an incredible manager, one of the most underrated in the league. However, I've gone that Bilic's men will start their season quite poorly with a 4-0 defeat to Leicester. I think, again, quite a similar situation to Liverpool almost, in that there's been a lot of negativity around how Leicester performed at the end of the season, especially with their 4-1 defeat to Bournemouth. I watched that game. They were abysmal. Silly mistakes, and eventually cost them Champions League. I think they're going to come back very hungry. I do believe they have one or two injury concerns, but nothing that I think is really going to startle them too much.
Yeah, what you said does kind of ring true, that Leicester will be kind of wanting to sort of bite back from missing out on the Champions League because they were in such a commanding position. They're kind of, hoping to make up for that. Mine's going to be a 2-0 win for Leicester. I don't really have much to say on this. I just think Leicester are the better quality team, and I just think that will show in the game. I think that Leicester will sort of dominate large periods of the game, and it will very much be West Brom just trying to hold on, just trying to stay in the game as long as possible, but I don't think it will pay off, and I think it will be a 2-0 win for Leicester. Our next game is Spurs versus Everton, if I can talk properly. Go on, talk about that for us.
So with this one, it was quite a hard one. Obviously, trying not to be as biased as possible, as much as I want to. I had to give a fair representation of what I think two teams could deliver. And I do believe that we'll see a 1-1. I don't think that that Spurs had invested very well, while Everton have. I know I've commented quite a lot about Everton always seem to invest well and it never performs. However, Ancelotti is a proven winner. He's a mastermind of the game. I think he's going to know how to approach this game. However, you can't underestimate Jose Mourinho. He's a winner. He wins wherever he's been. I just think it's going to be, on paper, a very, very enjoyable watch.
Yeah, I do think it will be a kind of close game, and it will kind of keep you on the edge of your seat right to the wire. My personal prediction for the game, I think it's going to be a little bit of a cagey affair between these two. I think it's going to be Spurs that come out on top with a 1-0 win, though. Maybe a goal that they just nick late on, or maybe one that they have to hold on to from early on. I just think that I don't really see too many goals in this game. A lot of Everton's team will kind of need to get into the swing of things, certainly if they're playing their new players straight away. And I also think that kind of Spurs, I just don't really have the feeling that they're going to hit the ground running, but I do think they are going to win this game. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say on that, which takes us into our next game, which is Brighton versus Chelsea. Josh?
Brighton-Chelsea, it's kind of written all over that we could see a 5-0 decimation. It's the Brighton side that look like they could struggle this season versus the Chelsea side that are arguably one of the title favourites this season. However, every game I've watched that is labelled that ends quite boring. And I think with the recent injury concerns of Ziyech, Thiago Silva, Chilwell, there's a lot of players that aren't fit to start this game. I think we're going to see a bit of a rotated side to what Chelsea fans may want. I've gone with a 2-0 Chelsea victory. Don't think Brighton will beat them. Don't think Brighton have got the edge to beat them. I don't believe there'll be a decimation of Brighton.
Yeah, not as heavy as what you may thought if Chelsea had played a full strength
side.
No,
of course. I think when you first looked at that fixture, you went, "Oh my God, Brighton are going to lose about 5-0." But you have to respect that Graham Potter is a manager that has his team quite well drilled at the back. I don't think you can stop some of the players that they have.
Yeah, I do think it's going to kind of be sort of down to Dunk and White if they're going to be sort of have any chance in this game. Them guys keeping Chelsea at bay. I don't really give Brighton a chance either. I've gone with a 3-0 Chelsea win. Um, it's like a lot of the results sort of. I kind of sound like a broken record, but I just think that Chelsea have the quality to kind of get over the line against Brighton. You say Brighton, you say Chelsea, and you kind of know which team sounds like the one that's going to win. Chelsea are the bigger side. I just feel like that's going to show. Um, yeah, that's
But
kind of it really.
inevitably, that's how the Prem is determined, isn't it? It's about who's got the more ability that season. I know a lot of people talk about, oh, they bought the Prem, they bought the Prem. If that be commenting on Liverpool, if that be commenting on City in their recent seasons. However, if you want to win the Premier League now, it's even the same with the Championship. You have to pay for the big players. You cannot have a season. There was a big reason why Leicester won the season and a miracle victory because their team was made up of players that were just not good enough.
Yeah,
It's horrible to say as a football fan. Passion doesn't really win the league as much anymore. Money does.
yeah. I think that's certainly you probably get your Graham Souness's and your Roy Keanes banging on about that, but yeah, it's still it's fact that that's how it is. It's not yeah, it's kind of not really how good your scouting
It's
team
pretty
is or
common
anything.
knowledge, isn't it?
It's just how big your bank account is.
It's how much your owner wants to pump into the club. It's a business now, and so it's not 11 players playing for the joy of football. It's 11 players who are playing to make a living.
Well, yeah, it's their job at the end of the day, isn't it?
Mm.
Um, which moves on to our the last match of game week 1. Obviously, we haven't got likes of Man City, Man United in the fold yet. We'll sort of bring them into our predictions when they start playing. But for now, we've got Sheffield United Wolves. Josh, lead us on that.
Um, as much as I don't think Wolves are going to be the magic side that they were last season, as I said, they're playing a Sheffield United side that have poorly invested, that overachieved. I'm a big fan of Chris Wilder, but that side isn't good enough to do it again. I've gone with a 3-1 victory for Wolves. I just don't think Sheffield can start the way they carried on. I don't think they can carry this form on. I think there were too many little breaks and little issues that have gone into the season not performing as well as they should. I think with the likes of losing some players through injuries, some have signed new deals, which is brilliant if you're a Sheffield fan. But when I think you see the likes of like Phil Jagielka with 1-year extensions, you raise eyebrows because he is 35, and you do look at like their strike force of McBurney and Moussa, and you do think that doesn't score enough. Moussa arguably, yeah, is their better one, but McBurney has been so inconsistent. I just don't think they can really get anything out of this game.
Yeah, I kind of see the game going the same way in the sense that it's a Wolves victory, but my thing is that I think Wolves are still going to be a little bit cautious that Sheffield could carry the same sort of firepower that they did last year. So I think it's going to be a bit of a sort of touchy one where Wolves do kind of hold back. Having said that, Wolves have tended to play pretty defensively ever since they got back into the Premier League. It's just kind of been their sort of identity. I do feel like it's going to be a Wolves win though, so I'm saying 1-0 to Wolves. Just sort of, they nick their goal and they just kind of sit back and they make sure they secure the victory. I don't. That's kind of how I see the game going. I don't really see Sheffield.
If I'm honest, there, I can do nothing but disagree. Wolves aren't the side that sit back. I've watched Wolves a couple of times this season. Nuno doesn't really understand the words "every man behind the ball." That phrase doesn't mean a lot to him. I think he likes killing games. I don't think goal different. I don't think conceding bothers him that much. I think it's as long as he can outscore his opposition, that's fine with him.
I think it's certainly you could kind of take that approach with the likes of Raul Jimenez, the likes of Adama Traore, the likes of Diego Jota. I think that is certainly a way you could kind of view it like that. But that's our score predictions done. We have also done, as I mentioned briefly earlier, that we have got some bold predictions for the game weeks as well. So my ones for this weekend are 3+ red cards for players. We decided on that would be a 2-pointer. A manager red card, that would be a 2-pointer we decided. and Pulisic to assist Werner, which admittedly I wasn't really too sure that Pulisic was going to be out for this game. So that's kind of a irrelevant one, but I predicted it nonetheless, and I kind of
So
stick to
basically,
the
what
fact
we've
that I
heard there,
can't change it.
what we've heard there, guys, is Lewis is walking away from no points from game week 1. And this is why you don't go bold, you go humble.
Mitrovic
This is
could
why
be
you
sent off
say
3 times in one game week.
it depends if you've got the referee from the World Cup
Ev-
sent
ev-
off. He booked a player 3 times.
Every every ref is Mike Dean for every game.
Unless they play Nigel de Jong, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think if you really want to get some points this season, you would have gone Alba will score the first goal of the new season. That's what I've gone with for a point. I think I've played this safe. They're all 1 point. There will be a sending off in game week 1. Just one sending off any game. And there will be more than 20 plus goals across game week 1. So this is the total goals. Both teams combine their goals, add them to the rest of the games. Basically, what we've learned from that is I'm going to be walking away for 3 points this weekend.
Yeah.
I would like to add that the winner of all this point system, it will be added into the little picture that you're going to see on the screen. Will be winning a £50 gift card of their choosing at the end of the season. So I hope Lewis has been saving up his money because I want a £50 gift card and I'm going to get a £50 gift card.
There we go, fighting talk, mate. Fighting talk. That concludes us for today. We're gonna wrap it up here. I hope you enjoy the football this weekend. It'll be good to see that the Premier League is back, even though it really hasn't had that much time off anyway. Be sure to comment. Join in the chat about football. Agree with us, disagree with us, whatever. We'd appreciate it if you leave a like and subscribe as well. It'd also be nice if you followed us on all our socials, which I'll link down below when this video goes up. But that's all for now. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you later.